I had a patient sit across from me this past January, cholesterol report in her hand, looking almost betrayed by her own body. She'd cut the eggs, switched the butter for margarine, gave up bacon on Sunday mornings, the one meal she actually looked forward to all week. 3 months later, blood work came back. The number barely moved. 10 points, maybe 15. She'd done everything right, and her body basically shrugged at her. Here's what almost nobody sits down and explains to you in a 12-minute appointment. Most of the cholesterol sitting in your blood right now didn't come from your plate. Your liver made it. Your liver pumps cholesterol into your gut every single day inside a fluid called bile, and then, this is the part that changes everything. Your body turns around and pulls almost all of it right back in. 95% of it. You're not eating your way into high cholesterol most of the time. You're stuck inside what I call the cholesterol loop. The same cholesterol, made, dumped, and reabsorbed over and over, like a sink with a drain trap that never actually lets anything go. That's often why cutting foods one by one barely moves the number for most people. What actually breaks the cholesterol loop is different. It's foods that physically grab that bile down in your gut and hold the drain open long enough for the cholesterol to actually leave your body, before it gets pulled back up into your blood again. I'm Dr. Marcus Wells, and today I'm walking you through the 10 foods that do exactly that. Some of them are already sitting in your kitchen right now. A couple of them work faster than you'd expect, and I mean that honestly, not as a headline trick. One thing before the list. I put everything I walk my own patients through, the food, the timing, the small habits, into one plan built specifically for people rebuilding their heart health after 60. If you want it, the link is right there on your screen. Thousands of people are already using it. Now let's get into the food. Hold one idea in your head, and this entire list will make sense to you. Some of these foods grab bile in your gut and drag it out before your body can pull it back in. Others feed the good bacteria living in your colon, the ones that break cholesterol down before it ever gets absorbed in the first place. That's the mechanism. The more of these foods you're eating, the more cholesterol leaves your body through the bathroom instead of piling up quietly in your arteries. If you want a target, aim for 5 to 10 grams of soluble fiber a day. Mayo Clinic has pointed to that range for real, measurable drops in LDL. You'll hit it without much trouble once we get through this list. There's a flip side too, and I'd be lying if I left it out. Saturated fat, the marbled steak, the fried chicken skin, the pastry case at the bakery, and refined white starch quietly tell your liver to hang on to its cholesterol instead of dumping it. So while you're adding these 10 foods in, easing off that other stuff is what actually lets them work. Not zero, just less. One more thing, and it costs you almost nothing. Next time you're at your doctor's office, ask for a blood test called lipoprotein a. Say it exactly that way, lipoprotein a. It's the inherited piece of your cholesterol picture that food genuinely can't touch, and most people go their entire life without ever having it checked once. One test, one time, and you'll know if something hereditary is hiding underneath your regular numbers. Then you get to work on the part you actually control, your plate, 3 times a day. Let's start at number 10. Number 10. Garlic. Crush a raw clove and it releases a compound called allicin. It's the thing that stings your nose and makes your eyes water a little when you're chopping it at the counter. Allicin nudges LDL cholesterol down slightly. It also calms some of the low-grade inflammation that makes cholesterol stick to artery walls in the first place. The National Institutes of Health reviewed the research on this, and the honest answer is the effect is real, but modest. A few points, not a miracle. Garlic is a supporting player here, not your whole strategy. Here's a trick most people miss completely. Allicin only forms after you crush or chop the clove and let it sit on the cutting board for about 10 minutes. Throw raw garlic straight into a screaming hot pan, and you destroy most of it before it does anything useful. So crush it first, let it rest while you get the rest of dinner moving, and add it near the end of cooking. 1 or 2 cloves a day is plenty. Skip the aged black garlic and the jarred pickled stuff if this is your goal, because most of the allicin is gone by the time it reaches the jar. Number 9. Onions. Onions carry a prebiotic fiber called inulin. Your good gut bacteria are hungry for exactly that. Feed them, and they get better at breaking down bile and pushing it out of your system, and every bit of bile that leaves your body forces your liver to pull more cholesterol out of your blood to replace it. That loop. working in your favor for once. Onions bring something else too, an antioxidant called quercetin, tied in some studies to modestly lower blood pressure alongside its anti-inflammatory effect. The whole onion family counts here. Red, white, leeks, shallots, garlic again. Cooking is fine. The fiber holds up to heat, so a pan of slow-cooked caramelized onions is still doing its job. And honestly, onions do something people never give them credit for. They make the beans and the greens on this list taste good enough that you'll actually eat them again tomorrow. That matters more than any single nutrient, because the best food on this list does nothing sitting untouched in your fridge. Number 8. Broccoli. Broccoli brings soluble fiber, sure, but its real trick is a compound called glucoraphanin. Chop the broccoli, and an enzyme converts that into sulforaphane, which switches on a protective system inside your cells called NRF2. Think of it as your body's internal cleanup crew for the daily wear and tear on your blood vessels. Researchers at Johns Hopkins have studied sulforaphane for years and linked it to lower LDL and reduced inflammation markers. Here's the part almost nobody does. Cut your broccoli and let it sit for 20–30 minutes before it hits the pan. That waiting gives the enzyme time to actually form the sulforaphane. For test, cook it the second you slice it, and the heat kills most of the benefit before it ever develops. Steam it until just tender. Don't boil it into gray mush, because boiling leaches the good compounds straight into the water you're about to pour down the sink. If you want to go further, broccoli sprouts carry far more sulforaphane, gram for gram, than the grown heads. Can't stand broccoli? Cabbage, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts are the same family and do the same job. Number 7. Ground flaxseed. This might be the easiest addition on the entire list. Flax is one of the richest sources of that gel-forming soluble fiber that traps bile in your gut. It also carries a plant omega-3 and compounds called lignans, both of which are associated with lower LDL on their own. Put them together, and the research the Cleveland Clinic points to shows ground flax can meaningfully lower bad cholesterol when it's eaten daily. But there's a catch, and it's a big one. Whole flax seeds pass through you basically untouched. The shell is too tough for your gut to crack open. They have to be ground. Buy them pre-ground or run them through a cheap coffee grinder at home. And keep them in the fridge so the oils don't go rancid. 2 tablespoons a day is the target. Stir it into oatmeal, yogurt, a smoothie, even soup. You won't taste it, and it costs you almost nothing at the grocery store. Number 6. Apples. That old line about an apple a day holds up better than you'd think. Apples are loaded with a soluble fiber called pectin, which grabs cholesterol in your gut and helps carry it out. A study published in 2020 in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition put participants on 2 apples a day and tracked their LDL and triglycerides dropping over the following weeks. Real numbers, not folklore. The whole apple does something else too. It's bulky and filling, so you eat one and you're satisfied, a lot less likely to reach for a cookie an hour later out of habit. Just make sure it's the actual fruit. Applesauce carries a fraction of the fiber, and apple juice carries almost none, plus a hit of sugar that pushes triglycerides in the wrong direction. Eat the whole apple, skin included, because a good portion of the pectin lives right there. Pears, oranges, and even a plain carrot carry pectin too, so rotate them in. Real quick, if any of this is landing for you, tap subscribe and drop a like. Takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps this reach more people who need to hear it. Back to the list. Number 5. Walnuts. Most of this list runs on fiber. Walnuts earn their spot a different way entirely. They're loaded with a healthy polyunsaturated fat, including a plant omega-3, and when that fat replaces the saturated fat you'd otherwise be snacking on, LDL tends to drop, and your artery lining tends to function better. The American Heart Association has linked a small daily handful of walnuts to lower cardiovascular risk, with studies showing a modest percentage drop in LDL. Walnuts carry the most of that plant omega-3, but almonds and pistachios lower cholesterol too. So pick whichever one you'll actually keep in the pantry. Watch your portion. Nuts are calorie-dense. A quarter cup is the sweet spot, not the whole bag in front of the television on a Sunday night. And this is a good moment to clear something up, because most people have the fat conversation backwards. The saturated fat in fried food, fatty cheese, and packaged pastries tells your gut to hold on to bile and cholesterol instead of releasing it. The fat in nuts, olive oil, avocado, and opposite direction. It's the hard, solid fat, the kind that stays firm sitting on your kitchen counter, that quietly works against you. Number 4. Barley. Now we're into the heavier hitters. Barley is loaded with a specific soluble fiber called beta-glucan. Best bile trapper on this entire list. Not close. It forms a thick gel in your gut and does its one job extremely well. Proven enough that the FDA allows food companies to print a heart health claim right on the packaging. A review of the research found barley's beta-glucan lowered LDL by roughly 7% in study participants. The easiest way to use it is a straight swap. Trade the white rice next to your dinner for cooked barley. Or toss a handful into soup or stew, where it thickens things up nicely. You've just turned a fiber-free starch into one of the strongest cholesterol tools on your plate. Whole barley beats pearled barley if you can find it, since pearling strips away some of the outer fiber layer. One more trick that works for barley or any grain. Cook it. Cool it overnight in the fridge. Eat it the next day. That cooling process creates something called resistant starch, which feeds good gut bacteria and helps flatten blood sugar spikes on top of everything else. Number 3. Black beans. If you're eating meat most nights of the week, this is the single biggest swap available to you. A few nights a week, trade the meat for black beans instead. Beans bring soluble fiber and resistant starch together, and that resistant starch feeds bacteria that produce something called butyrate, basically fuel for the lining of your gut, and part of the machinery that keeps you inside that cholesterol loop working for you instead of against you. A review published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal pulled together the available studies and found that just one serving of beans or lentils a day lowered LDL by around 5%. Plain, cheap. Doing what a lot of people are hoping a pill will do for them. I'll be straight with you. Beans make some people a little gassy the first week or two. Not fun. Temporary, though. That's just your gut bacteria adjusting, and it settles down. Soak dried beans overnight and discard the water. Or rinse canned beans well. Start with half a cup and build up from there. Number 2. Navy beans. All beans deserve a place on your plate, but the white ones, navy beans, are the soluble fiber champions of the entire bean family. 1 cup carries close to 19 grams of fiber, more than most people eat in an entire day, sitting right there in a single bowl. And that fiber isn't only trapping bile, it's feeding the whole community of good bacteria we keep coming back to, the ones that turn cholesterol into a form your body simply can't reabsorb. It doesn't have to be navy beans specifically. Lentils, chickpeas, kidney beans, pinto beans, they all pull in the same direction, so rotate them through the week so you don't get sick of any one. Beans show up constantly in the everyday diet of some of the longest living populations researchers have studied. Not a coincidence. Keep a few cans in the pantry, rinse them to cut the sodium, and toss a cup into whatever soup, salad, or chili is already on the stove. Cheap, boring, effective. Exactly why it's this high on the list. And number 1, the single most researched cholesterol food on the planet, oats. Oats carry that same beta-glucan we talked about with barley. And honestly, oats have more research behind them for lowering LDL than almost any food on Earth. Get about 3 grams of beta-glucan a day, roughly 1 solid bowl of oatmeal, and both Mayo Clinic and the FDA point to somewhere in the range of a 5 to 10% drop in LDL within a matter of weeks, not years. That's the fast people are always asking me about, and it's an honest word here. Use real oats, steel cut or old-fashioned rolled, and skip the sugary instant packets, because the added sugar works against everything you're trying to do. Oat bran carries even more beta-glucan than regular oats if you want to push it further. Top your bowl with berries or a spoon of that ground flax from earlier instead of a pile of brown sugar. Add a little cinnamon, and you've done more for your heart before 9 in the morning than a decade of skipping eggs ever did. Now, one important thing before I let you go, because it matters more than any single food on this list. Some of you are going to do all of this faithfully and still watch your numbers stay stubborn. You are not doing anything wrong. Roughly a third of people are what researchers call superabsorbers. Your genetics essentially program your gut to grab and hold on to more cholesterol than average, largely independent of how clean your diet already is, though the right foods still make a measurable difference. If high cholesterol runs hard through your family, or if you've eaten cleanly for months with barely any movement in your numbers, that may well be you. You didn't cause that, your genes did. The good news is this. Genetic absorption is precisely the kind of thing a daily wall of soluble fiber is built to compete against, and it's one of the few ways to actually pry the cholesterol loop open from the outside. For people in that group, three foods carry most of the weight: oats, barley, and beans. The key word there is daily, not once in a while when you remember. That consistency is what brings a stubborn number down, often enough to keep a second medication off the table entirely. Though that conversation always belongs with your own doctor, not with a video. There's one more tool worth mentioning specifically for that group: plant sterols and stanols. These are compounds that compete with cholesterol for absorption space in your gut and block a portion of it from getting in at all. You'll find them added to certain spreads and orange juices, and in smaller amounts naturally in nuts, seeds, and vegetable oils. Around 2 grams a day has been shown to lower LDL by roughly another 10%. If your numbers have been stuck, that's worth raising with your doctor directly. And people ask me constantly, how fast is fast, really? If you stay consistent with this, LDL can begin shifting somewhere around the 2 to 4 week mark, and it keeps improving from there the longer you stick with it. One honest caveat: cholesterol circulates in your blood for a few days at a time, so eating perfectly for 48 hours right before a blood test won't fake a good number. It's the daily pattern over weeks that actually moves the needle. One more easy addition before we close this out. A spoonful of plain psyllium husk, stirred into a glass of water, is about the purest soluble fiber you can buy, and it's the same ingredient sitting inside most fiber supplements on the pharmacy shelf. Once a day, with plenty of water, working alongside everything else on this list. Now, something I need to say plainly, because it's the responsible thing to do. Food is genuinely powerful, but it works alongside your doctor, never instead of them. If your cholesterol is very elevated, if you've already had a cardiac event, or if you're currently taking a statin or any other prescription for this, please don't stop anything or skip an appointment because of a video you watched online. Bring this list to your own physician instead. Tell them you'd like to give a real, structured dietary approach an honest trial, and ask them to recheck your numbers in a few months. For a lot of people, food alone gets them where they need to be. For others, it's what allows a lower dose of medication to finish the job safely. Either way, the plate is the foundation everything else sits on. If all 10 feels like more than you can juggle starting tomorrow morning, don't overthink it. Oats at breakfast, beans at dinner, a small handful of walnuts and an apple somewhere in between. Do that most days of the week, and you've quietly covered the majority of this entire list without trying to be perfect about it. Give it 2 weeks. Just 2. Pay attention to how your energy feels by the second week, and mention any changes to your doctor at your next visit so they can watch the numbers alongside you. That's usually when patients tell me they first notice something shifting, even before the blood work confirms it. Start there, add the rest in as it feels manageable, and let your body finally step outside the cholesterol loop it's been stuck in for years. Next time, I want to walk you through the flip side of this whole conversation. The everyday foods that quietly keep that loop locked shut. The ones sitting in most kitchens labeled heart healthy that aren't doing what the package promises. That one might upset a few breakfast routines. If this was useful to you, subscribe so that video finds you when it's up, and tell me in the comments which food on this list you're starting with tomorrow morning. Take good care of that heart of yours. It's been working for you this whole time. Give it something worth working with. This video is for general educational purposes only, and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your physician or a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your diet, starting any new supplement, or adjusting any medication, including statin.